This is a meeting of the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. It's a work session for GPA. For the record, those present are myself, Commissioner Sanchez, Commissioner Pedro Martinez, and Commissioner Mike Limchaku is online, I believe, with us already. So, John, this is the work session. You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two items actually in the agenda today, but we're going to table the one on the property insurance until
you're going to give it to us later before the meeting.
Before the meeting, and then of course it's on the agenda for next week, Tuesday.
Sure.
Because we have to pass the resolution of that for the payment of the November of the insurance policy. And
This is our annual policy.
Annual policy.
It's annual policy.
Renewal.
Yeah. So the first
John, go
item
ahead.
is the relative to approval of the engineering, procurement, and construction management contract and resolution 2023-01. And again, we have an owner's engineer for us to help us administer the contract between, of course, we've had Stanley Consultants with us since the very beginning to prepare the specifications, will help us go out on bid and review, prepare a contract for the new Okudu power plant. And that contract actually is expiring, and therefore we had requested your approval to go out for a new EPCM contract, which we did, and actually I've had to rebid it at one particular point in time because of circumstances that didn't allow us to have enough competition for the procurement. And the results have come in, and a selection has been made, and the selection is still the current EPCM Stanley consultant, which we then asked, given provided a scope of work for the next 2.5 years to provide us the services. Again, with the new power plant, we have to administer the contract. We have to make sure that they're compliant with all this necessary. There are a lot of questions that are asked between ourselves and the contractor during the process and other engineering activities. So this resolution is to ask requesting the CCU to approve a new engineering, procurement, and construction management contract for Stanley Consultant in the tune of about 6.241727 million for the period December 2023 to February 2025. This does not include, in the bid, we also went out for the analysis of re-update of the LNG study.
Okay.
However, we took that out because we need more time to really develop that scope to make that happen. So that will have to come to yourself at a later date. The Okudu, again, the project location, of course, is Okudu. The LNG storage and regasification will be down in April. The price is 6241727. The power plant is targeted for completion by April 2024, but may likely be around October. So between May and October of 2024 will be the commissioning of although it could be started up before that, the commissioning and final thing will be in that date. And again, as far as the natural study, we will provide a budget and a request for your approval at a later date. This will come from our revenue funding. The scope of work, do you have that there, Joyce? The scope of work.
Yeah, it is.
If you,
It's
in the board books. Actually, I just wanted to go to the last page there, Mr. Chair. And these are my notes on the need of the contract and the difference between the existing contract and the new contract, no? Of course, there's some increase in rates, so the hourly rates of the personnel versus what it was before, and that's because it's been several years, no? We do need additional support for environmental and construction monitoring. There are multiple few construction sites that was not anticipated requiring additional assistance, such as construction support for monitoring for unexploded World War II ordnance. No, they did. Everything was going fine. They did find an ordinance, and then it's something that we have to address. So we're gonna have to get someone to go ahead of the team and check for metal detection and all of those different things in more obvious locations. So this will, again, what I'm providing to you is a budget, and I will note that we will be monitoring and the not to exceed budget. We anticipate other technical support in site to support construction and commissioning activities in the plan when needed. And for the fuel line, we're also the cathodic protection, leak detection, equipment testing. We want to make sure all of those are compliant with our specifications. And because at the end of the day, this is, although they will own it and operate and maintain it for the next 25 years, at the end of 25 years, this whole facility comes over to GPA. So although we do need to ensure that we're at least getting what we're paying for, no? And that there's no shortcuts in this. No? Anticipating more schedule control and monitoring, as we are noting concerns with schedules being a potential impact, delays in decision by GPA, not having help from our consulting firm, could result in commissioning delays of the new plan, resulting in delay of fuel savings. So we all know that the Okudu power plant is going to provide huge fuel savings. So keeping it on track will make sure that we save money, as early as possible. This is a time and material contract, not a firm fixed price. So their proposal is a budget estimate, but GPA will keep costs under the budget. So just because it's 6.2, we're going to just use what we need as we will go along. But instead of us coming back all the time to the commission and the PUC, we need to have the tools ready to move forward as necessary, no? Mm-hmm. GPA continues to experience retirement of senior personnel, and more are expected over the next few years. So sport really has the responsibility for not only the new power plant and ensuring that it gets done properly, but also for significant projects such as bidding and contracting now for the new 180 megawatt that we are in the process that the CCU has approved and is before the PUC, and most likely hopefully will be approved next week, so that we can go out and bid in November to address the different challenges that we have in renewables, energy storage, ESS, and etc. over this period. So sport has a lot on their plate. We're losing senior personnel, so we do need the assistance to ensure that there's no hiccups in getting our clean master plan done. The EPCM support for the GPA sport team is critical for the successful commissioning of the new Okudu plan, Mr. Chair. And this is why we're requesting this budget for your approval, so that we can get to our long-awaited goal of getting the new power plant done and constructed. And I think Jennifer, I'm not sure, is Jennifer here? No, not right here, but she tried her best to keep this budget down as low as possible. Okay. However, at the same time, she has the burden to make these things happen, no? Sure. And so, with that, Mr. Chair, I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Straightforward. Okay. Any questions?
Not on this, Mr. Chairman.
Not on this.
Straightforward, very straightforward.
Okay.
We've had one.
Okay, so
Just to note that
Chair.
that our contractor, KEPCO, is not just building the power plant, but it's also putting in the fuel lines and helping with all the other stuff that eventually is really our property. On the fuel lines are our thing. The tanks that are going to go up there are ours. Right? Okay. Fine. Okay. Next,
The next item, Mr. Chair, actually was the insurance, and again, we will send it to you
you're going to
before
send it
the
to us
meeting.
prior to the meeting, yes.
Prior to the meeting, and we'll explain all of that on
And
Tuesday.
that's also pretty straightforward. You have to have insurance.
We have to have insurance, and of
And it
course,
is what it is.
world events today is impacting
no,
that. So
I'm afraid it's going
we're
up.
doing our best now to work with the team on this. And
Okay.
as you recall, you even went to London
I don't know.
to present to a whole bunch of new underwriters, because there's some that have gone and left the market.
Yep.
And a lot of new that are potentially in the market. To cover all of this, we did that to make that happen. So, I mean, as best we can.
I
Okay,
heard when
John.
you went to London, the whole city was in mourning because of the increase in our insurance rates.
Well,
making
I'm
long
not quite
lines.
sure. They were, well, I know one for sure is that they were mourning, of course, for Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
And yes, they could have been in mourning.
I thought she saw her premium and then said, I'm out of here.
Yeah. So,
But may she rest.
yeah.
Okay.
I do
So,
have the
your
GM report,
I
Mr.
think
Chair.
that's what we
And,
get to
Sunsets at 6:05, John.
Huh?
Sunsets at 6:05. So.
oh, okay. So I can go through
Okay.
it very
Go to your
quickly,
GM.
and then,
And then I just have some some couple of questions. We're getting some inquiries on billing and stuff. But
Yep.
after your report,
Sure, go ahead.
then we can go.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, the reserve margin actually is better for November, because we'll have about 321 megawatts of available capacity and all of that, and an anticipated peak of about 252. So we'll be in pretty good shape in November, and even moving forward December, January. Because why? If you look at the graph here, January, February, March, really, even here, December, January, February, March are your lowest peak demand months. So therefore, there's that good news, and there's especially a good news for consumers, no, because it means they consume less energy, no. Next. As far as net metering, again, there are still net metering out there, but not at the rate as before. But again, it's more consistent at this point, of course, because of the higher fuel costs. No. Next. Oh, I'm sorry. If you look here, I did add something else. What is the average kilowatt now per residential? Here's the number of residential. Commercial, the average kilowatt is 49, and again for government 34 when they put it in. And then the percentage of net of this total customers are here. 92% are residential customers.
John, do we know, or Chairman or colleagues, they passed a new incentive tax credit. Is it the same as it was 7 years ago when they 30% tax credit? Is it the same
I'm
idea?
not 100% sure. We're looking more into that, but yeah, it's about the same. And
Similar idea, same
extended.
idea. Okay.
And then there are some other provisions in the ARA which is really not clear to anyone really at this
What is
point,
it?
because they pass something and then they give it to the administration, and the administration then puts together its SOP as to how it thinks. So we haven't gotten this part yet, but
Yeah, and the other, tax credit on, Guam's not is a poorer economy. If you could take the tax credit, you're probably in that 2,200, and you took it before, and now the system's on your roof. I think those that could do it took it. The average ratepayer, they just still can't. The credit's not worth much to them. It's hard for them to front the money to take the credit, right? And then of course we had the disaster with the no money down, which was a disaster, and that's affected the NEM market. It's not on our side, but obviously demand is falling apart. So I'm just wondering whether, if the new tax credit is going to get us another 2,200, my fear is if the tax credit actually helped you on your taxes, you probably already did it, right? I mean, I do get some inquiries now. Hey, should I do it? I say, if you've got the money, borrow it yourself or pull it out of your wallet and put it on you, because you take the tax credit. If you lease it, the leasing company takes the tax credit.
yeah. Especially, I mean, we've always said if you own the facility, you take here, then of course you're gonna save
That's the maximum
your
savings.
payback is a lot
Yes.
quicker. But if you don't own the facility, then please take a look at the numbers that we always present in all the GM reports as to where the GPA rates are heading. And I'll show that again tonight, no, later.
Well, and I think the other piece of the puzzle, John, is at the end of the day, there's going to be thousands. 2,000 are doing it, but we have 40,000, 50,000 ratepayers, right?
52,000
The
are
other
climbing.
50,000, we're the only source of solar energy. We're the only source of renewable energy. They're not going to do the credit. They
And
can't do
today,
it.
if you look, there's 30 megawatts by that group, and then we have 85, no? So that's 115 megawatts that Guam now has in solar capacity. And then the 180 that the CCU approved, minimum, that's a minimum 180. And if the PUC approve, again, we're on our way towards the 40%. That will give us about 40% by 2026.
Are you going to talk to us about Hanwha, the status of their project? Any update?
That's
Nothing-
I've
nothing
written
to
to
report?
them and asked them to comply.
Okay, so you're waiting for
right
them. Okay.
No, right now, there's but I just don't. I'm not confident at this point. That's why I was telling the commission it's
It's a
10
victim
years.
of
no?
COVID,
Yeah.
that and NG.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The peak on that July 21 to September 21 compared to July 22 to September 22, I don't quite understand what happened there, or
Which one? Yes,
that one?
Yeah.
this was when they had one of the affordable homes area.
They put a whole bunch of renewals.
Put in affordable homes and they put solar on the rooftop. So that was a one-time.
It looks like, what, 40 units or 50
Yeah,
pieces,
about
right?
50
On the right
some
side?
units that they put in affordable, and they put rooftop solar in it as part of that affordable home, I believe. Yeah? So that's why it picked up that one time.
But the average citizen, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
They don't have the money, the roof isn't big enough, the tax credit doesn't help them, all the above.
Yep. And I mean, if it comes from grants, different things like that. But again, we were trying to address the issue of avoided costs is still before the PUC, and we're working with them to try and address that. Hopefully, by early next year, we can resolve that. So therefore, it really does. The subsidy now that is occurring doesn't continue to increase, no? Because if it's still high around 5 million a year, but if that starts jumping to 5, 10, 15 million, then we're gonna have to increase the rates for everybody else. So we have to levelize that based on parity. So that's over the next few months. I think we're gonna be able to address that. No? Next. Fuel oil prices, as you can see. Here's the end of 2021. Then we're right here in January. It spiked way up, and then been coming down. However, again, just a spike outwards. Now, the bottom curve here, the black and the red, that's the fuel that we used to burn. When I say used to burn, that is the low, dirty fuel that for 60 years the island has been burning and was allowed to burn by US EPA.
That's the black one, John?
Yeah, the black and the red, no? So that's what we call our high sulfur fuel, which is 2%, and the low sulfur fuel, which is 1.19%. Not really much difference, no? And of course, that's cheaper fuel and everything, so that's what however, the consent decree, to avoid hundreds of million dollars of penalties, we had to go to convert PD-89 to diesel. And then, because of the delays of all the various things for the new power plant and the retirement of Cabras, we had to, again, burn cleaner fuel at Cabras, although it's still to be able to keep it running because of new regulations that are coming into effect in 2023. So again, so therefore, really, the fuel now that we're using is the red and the blue, as you can see here, right? And the red and the blue are derivatives of diesel. Ultra low sulfur diesel are derivatives of the diesel. So even though
It's green, John.
oh, I'm sorry,
It's the green.
blue and what did I say,
green.
Mr. Chair?
You said red.
You said red.
Oh, okay, maybe I
So
was
it's blue
thinking
and
in the
green.
red, so my apologies.
No,
The
no, no,
blue
no.
and- Yeah,
Red
the
we
blue
don't
and the blue and the green, yes, you're right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And now, with the blue and the green, again, the diesel is a derivative, and of course, worldwide, that's still an issue, no? In terms of and it's closely following gasoline, right? So therefore, until they start getting gasoline prices and all of that, then we'll start getting our diesel. But if you can see, we're not even there yet, and I'll show you a little later. We're not even there yet compared to where we were in the beginning of the year. Next. Just some updates, Mr. Chair. Phase 4 renewable is up for approval by the PUC.
That's the 180 that we just
Yep.
approved? Great.
And also the PUC will be addressing the LEAC, our petition which was there. And the petition included a November 1st increase from 29 cents to 34 cents. So that's before them. The numbers are being put together for PUC. They wanted so many days before and meeting and all of that. And we should be getting that to them. If I'm not sure we did already, but updating that and giving them by early, of course, next
What are
week.
the numbers suggesting?
I have
You
an
can talk about
amended presentation to my GM, which you don't have in your amended, meaning I just hot off the press this morning. No?
Okay.
So I will get to that in a
When you
minute.
can.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through the rest quickly and get to that. But if you look at here, all the other petitions were approved by the PUC as the CCU had approved. No. Okay. Next. Customer assistance, again, just the numbers giving you. DSM, this is being done online now. Applications there, so this is working well. And again, we have, and again, I'm going to say this because for customers that are out there with the cost of energy today, really, if you go in and change out those inefficient air conditioners, your payback is probably 4 to 6 months, you know, and reduce your consumption. And GPA can provide you about a $200 to $300 rebate on that air conditioner. So again, I'm saying this because as you will see later on, really, fuel prices have not gone down significantly or to affect really our LEAC, no? So therefore, really, we ask the customers for, of course, conservation, and to implement some demand-side management program within your house to help us help you, no, make that happen. Next. Again, just more information for the commission, Mr. Chair. I won't go through this. Next. The new power plan. This is again, Jennifer, I mean, we don't want anyone to get the impression that everything's just moving along without, it takes a lot of work to keep this power plan going through, right? So next, again, just an update of where we are. I get here with transportation. Again, the EPC continued to work with DPW for the transportation of the equipment. The major pieces of equipment, there's about 12 of them, heavy, that is to be transported to arrive in Guam and transported from the port to Ukudu. And that's the heat recovery boiler, part of the steam turbine, and all of this. Temporary bridge has already been delivered here, which is in case the bridge breaks, they have something that they can put across. That's a requirement by DPW, no?
Okay.
Again, it takes several days to move this because it's going to have use about at least max even up to 22 axles. This is a crawler that will run by itself, and with 22 axles bring this heavy stuff up. And it only goes 1 to 3 miles per hour. So when you talk about 15 miles away, it could take anywhere from
6
12 to 15.
That many? Wow.
Yeah, right. And again, because you're going like this, avoiding any significant, sewage, wastewater pipes, all those different things. So it's a challenge, but again, they're working real hard on this. Heavy cargo, again, will be moved all the way through up to April 2023 during that period of time. But the first initial ones will be actually happening soon. They're still trying to get this thing delivered, maybe by the end of the month. But they're timing that with the storage, because you can't just store it anywhere because it's heavy, and then the movement. So it's a lot of action going on there, and again, everyone's working on that. Next. So again, this is the layout of the plan. Next.
Wow.
You're seeing some steel come up already. The last time is all earth and foundations and everything. So you're seeing steel come up now. Next. More and more. This is the heat recovery boilers. The foundations are going quicker up. Next. The storage tank for the fuel. If you notice, there's a what you call it?
Liner.
A liner in the bottom. And why is that? In case there's a leak in the tank, the oil will come out to the telltale, and then you will know. In addition to that, there's also a dike. So the tank ruptures, it will stay within the dike. See, so this is like, part of the environmental, even though it's up in the north, no? Next. Water piping, yeah.
In the future, with that layer there you have, so 15 years from now, if there's a tear or something, how do you take that out? You don't take it out?
You don't.
And even it's really durable.
Oh.
And you have secondary containment underneath it.
Tears occur when you really have, if you look even at your car, and a wire is against something that's always vibrating. But these tanks, they don't move. So they just sit there. So Cabras, one and the tanks down in Cabras, they have liners also and stuff. So yeah, this is not expected to tear. But then if there's any tear at all, really, I mean, there'll be a little bit go down to and that's compacted, and everything. But whatever the oil is going to come out to a telltale, and then the telltale, will tell you, there is a leak somewhere, and then that's, so it's well protected. Cathodic protection, again, is just to help prevent the tank from rusting. Next, sorry. Cooling water piping, again, this is for the wastewater from the plan is going to come in, that continues to go. Next. Foundation work for the treated water. We're going to take the water from the wastewater plant through here, make some treatment again, then to prevent corrosion. Next. Next. Gas turbine foundations, they're preparing it, so when the gas turbines come, it's just bring it here, and then they already have a 600-ton crane up there being assembled, and that will do all the heavy lifting in that area. Next. This is the steam drum. This is one of the heavy, the heat recovery boiler. The steam rises and comes to this drum, and then from the drum it goes towards your turbine. Again, major parts are ready to come in, and we want to get all these parts here because you never know with shipping or anything, right? So again, there's a lot of moving things that our team has to really constantly stay on top of, which is part of that EPCM, no? Pipeline, again, all the way from Okudu, from Cabras to Okudu. Next. As you can see, construction continues. What I did mention was they did find an ordinance, so again, they have to be more careful and have somebody go ahead and checking things. But nice pipelines, both being constructed. Move. Next. Again, Tijan, Nimitz, all different places where they can. Next. I won't go through the generation KPIs, Mr. Chair. It's really all the similar things. So
Look at it.
I do have an amended presentation, which is, I'm sure the question is, okay, what is it looking like for LEAC, no? And stuff. So this is just worked on this. Again, this is what you saw earlier, the changes in the fuel. Next. So again, let's talk about what happens based on the latest projection of numbers. Under recovery, with no November increase. If you look here, August was 47 million, was the highest under recovery. So if no change, it's anticipated that under recovery will be by January down to 41 million. No?
That's I'm sorry, what was our highest, John?
If there's no rate, if we don't get the November rate, the under recovery will be 41.
And our
The
highest?
highest is 47.
So it's only come down 6 million despite the,
The
It's
increase.
gonna come
despite
6
the
million.
increase. And I know you're also trying to claw back some of that
Yeah.
under recovery.
Yeah.
So far, we've gained, what, 6 million
So we anticipate we're only gonna gain 6 million
by
with
the
the
next
current
league
rate
act?
by the
By
end.
And that's if they approve?
No, that's it. With the existing,
Existing 29 cents.
no
So it's
change.
not, yeah, and then
This is
of
the
course,
29 cents.
we don't know what the.
So
oil
if
cut's
they
gonna be.
implement the November rate, no, then the under recovery would now end up at 26.
That's the $15 million question before the PUC.
And that's before the PUC to decide, no?
Before the PUC.
Again, we really don't have anything to add at this point, except that we have to provide a new LEAC by December,
Right.
which is next month. So again, how we will provide that depends on how we end up here, right? So again, we'll be addressing this next month because we normally don't have a meeting in December anyway, no?
And then you
So-
keep updating them anyway.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
So if you look at this, the other things here is here are the credits that are going across for the customer. And again, we don't want surprises at the end, right? So again, that credit ends in November, and then the impact to the customer, let me see here, begins, no? Right now, they've been getting more than the $100 was more than the rate increase over the past several months. But now we're getting to the tail end, no? And so in November
That's
is
the
really,
last one.
the last one, we really just impact because if the 34 cents went up, no? Then they will now be paying an additional 32. If the PUC does not increase that, right, then they'll get a credit again, right? Just like
the under recovery
yeah,
will still be
right.
a challenge.
So again, but then they'll feel this impact moving forward, you know? Next. You know, I try to work out so we begin to see how the prices of, even though the world events have done, then how is it impacting our pricing? How are we buying? So this is what I have as to when we were purchasing in January, we were burning high sulfur and the low sulfur, our typical 78 to 85. And then, of course, it went up to March, when everything started going up, right? And therefore, even today, in the last shipment, we stopped buying high sulfur in March because to comply with EPA, we have to burn everything. So we don't have any more high sulfur. I mean, I have to commend the team that's been doing this because it's a real challenge just to keep moving around field, trying to burn everything out at the same time so that, you know, the generations, the sports team and all that, they've been maneuvering all this fuel and we're being successful. We're complying with the US EPA requirement, no? So we stopped already, as we had said, high sulfur, and then low sulfur, 85, it was still 116 in June. And that's when we stopped buying now low sulfur. And we're now beginning to bring in the expensive but clean fuel, no? At the peak of if you look here, it's already around the peak of the fuel prices. So here's 172. I was trying to get an estimate of what our next shipment of this is coming in about the middle of November. So I don't have that number yet.
So the difference by burning the cleaner fuel, which is good for the environment, but as you're showing there, we went from 128, 116, $120 a barrel for low sulfur to the lowest LRSFO. That's 170. That's almost like a 50% increase in the price of fuel.
No, but here, see, notice where this price is not even up at the peak yet. See how the fuel prices, if you look at this gives you an idea how the fuel prices
Well, I'm just
globally-
comparing the 116 to the 172.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You
That's
can't
ugly.
you can't compare that 116 with that. And what I'm saying is that here's 186, so that 116 would have been higher. Here's 154, right?
Oh,
So
you're saying,
really,
you're saying
yeah.
it would have been, wait, say that
Yeah,
again,
it'd
John?
probably be around 125 here or 130, no? So yeah, you
And we're
anywhere
still
from
spending
a,
versus the 170.
yeah, so you
It's
have
still
about
ugly.
a 25 to $40 a barrel difference because we're using
The cleanest fuel.
cleanest fuel and using diesel to bring the dirty fuel down to a clean fuel
Right, as you burn it out.
as you burn it out.
Very close to diesel, really.
Very close to diesel, and in fact, because it requires the blending and all of that, it's actually a little higher or
Be higher.
higher than diesel. See,
But those, all three columns on the right got uglier from
Yeah.
a cost point of view because of the cost of the cleaner fuel that we now burn.
and the global events of fuel.
And the rising price of oil.
Yeah.
And it's a-
Because if you look here, here's the right. This is our non-base loads, no? And this is average for the month pricing. Okay. So in each of the months, if you look in January, that's what I was thinking, calling normal. Ne? In January, December of last year, we were around $88 to $95 a barrel diesel. No? And so if you look now at 95 versus even where it is in September is 149. So it still hasn't come down.
50% increase.
Although these ones have started to come down, the dirty oil, the clean diesel and
not burn
everything
anymore.
is not, you know,
Which is why we're looking at LNG again.
again, that's why we, you know, we keep mentioning it so no one forgets that that is still part of the plan, although we're gonna update it, but yeah, that's, you
That's
know,
why
if you
we're
wanna
putting the
get
pipelines
to
for-
the
Well, in the plan,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
The
whole-
pipeline's already
the
going in
pipeline
for it.
and the
fiber
plan
and
was
the plan
designed.
can do it, so
Yeah.
we'll continue like to make our
Gives us
research
another option.
to give us that option. Again, so here is the diesel now that the PD8 and 9 is burning. And now we buy this in bulk, no? So if you see, we purchased this in April, 150, right around the time that this thing started going up, right? And then in June, July, 153 or so. So the bulk, purchasing in bulk does decrease the cost, no? So eventually when we do buy diesel in bulk, even these numbers will be reduced at this point.
But John,
Yeah.
educate me. So that 172, is that, now, that's all we're burning at all the plants, right?
No, this is just Cabras
That's
1
just
and
Oh,
2.
that's
One
just
and two.
Cabra. So we're still on the
So
PD
here,
side.
the PD side, this is the non-base load because they're truck and delivered.
The small generators,
Yeah,
the 20
the-
megas.
the 20
yeah,
megas.
Yeah.
Now, PD8 and 9, remember, we leased tank 1906 and 1907 temporarily until the new tank, our tanks are rehabilitated. So we fuel that up. It comes, a ship comes in, fuels it up, and, you know, not like these deliveries, right? And so it's 153. And so again, that was our last order in July, and we should be receiving something here now in October. I've been trying to get the price yet, but we don't know yet exactly. Yeah, but maybe by Tuesday I'll get an idea.
But at some point, John, are we only burning the 2%? Except for
Nope.
the small, except
At
for
some
the,
point, we'll only be burning this,
Eventually,
eventually.
till we get to LNG.
Yeah. I mean, these two, they're the same
same thing.
fuel. At some point, we're gonna get a special, a little cleaner than this, but the pricing is about the same, no? In total. But this is where we're heading, clean fuel and everything, right?
but it's more expensive.
It's more expensive, and this is where it is today. Okay? So again, this is a history, where we're heading, the reasons why for the various things. So let's go to the next page. Let's talk about our customers. Now, I remember I mentioned here, if you look now at here, this is September, October, November. It started going down December, January, February, up to about March. March is when the consumption of starts going higher because the air conditioning load.
It's warmer.
So the good news partly is, you know, some consolation is that already the load, we're coming
The
into the
demand.
cooler months, so therefore it's not coinciding. Like, remember when we talked in June, we said it's a perfect storm. The prices are rising, the
getting
consumption is rising because it's getting hotter. So now at least we're in the tail. For the next 3 or 4 months or so, we're gonna be This is consumption of residential, and if you see residential, commercial, they pretty much follow itself. This is Navy, that's government. No? Next. So, I mean, we have to keep reminding everyone where, I have to always reminding where are we heading, right? I presented this in the last board meeting. So if you look now at if we were at $120 a barrel diesel, and you saw that is 153, right? With the new power plant commission, you're looking at 14.7 cents. With the new power plant and if you with the 180 commission, you're probably looking at 14.1 cent. Compared to what? Compared to the 29 to 34 cents today. So when we get the new power plant commission, that's where all the fuel savings, the LEAC, is going to come down. And then the more renewables, because of the 1% escalator, is going to keep it down, because at that point we're going to have 40% renewables in 2026. So whatever fuel, it only impacts 60%. So if it goes up 10% and 60%, it only goes up 6% of an impact. See, but then look, if we went up to 180, no? Right? And I highlighted, just when the Ukudu comes in, you're still no more than 21. If we stayed at 180, which is the highest that would happen this summer, still 21 versus 34 or all of that. So again, we're not going to be impacted as much, or I mean, we're going to be significantly less impacted by with the new power plant. Why? The new power plant is going to reduce the import of oil by at least 500,000 barrels a year. This KEPCO here, 250,000 barrels. So that's 750,000 barrels. And then we
40%.
add more. This is where we get to reducing 1 million barrels or more of imports. 1 million barrels times $120 a barrel. That's $120 million that doesn't go out of the island. Right? So again, we just have to give, the relief.
the end game.
Relief is in sight,
where we're going.
and the construction is happening, and the bidding is happening again for renewables. So that's all we can.
I think and you're doing a great job, and the team's doing a great job as we try to explain it to our customers. I mean, the biggest thing is the oil is the reason, it's the biggest purchasing part of the bill. It's the most expensive part of the bill, and the new generator is going to reduce the amount of oil we burn by almost 30%. So it's like, when you pull in the gas station, wouldn't you like your car to be 30% more fuel efficient? You would buy 30% less fuel. That's what the new generator will do it. And if it wasn't for COVID, that plant would have been open much sooner.
That's right.
We lost one solar provider because of COVID, because they couldn't hold the prices, right? But as the chairman has said, we're in place. We've got the new generator. When that's done, that's going to cut off oil. Then you can add more solar energy, whether it's from rooftop or utility scale, and that's going to reduce the amount of oil Guam uses for energy. And if you burn less oil, power bill is going to come down. So much so that there will be enough savings to pay for the new generator and still lower the power bill. But oil is the challenge, and we need to reduce the amount of oil we use. The new generator is going to reduce it 1/3. The solar farm in Marble is what, 250? It's another 10% less oil. And every solar energy source we add on a going forward basis, whether it's on a roof or on utility scale, will burn less oil and will reduce the amount of oil we buy, and that's how we're going to lower the power bill. And we wish we could do it faster, and we wish you could build a generator overnight, but look at the work you're showing. Look how much work it takes to build a generator. It
And
doesn't
he's on his
happen
way. He is
like
on
that,
his way,
but the pieces are in place. It's going to be a rough ride, especially the PUC is going to make a very difficult decision tomorrow night, right? And sooner or later
next week.
next week. And the numbers are there, and they're going to make the call.
They'll make a call.
And we're going to have to deal with it. But we know that there's a solution being constructed in place now. We know where we're going. We know what we have to do to get there. And then, we've been talking about LNG for almost a decade now. I remember we did a thing in 2014. So it's 8 years where we always knew LNG was another way to reduce our cost even more. But the PUC and us, I think we made the right decision. They said, build a new generator, make sure it can burn both fuels. The clean fuel that US EPA we knew was going to require us to do it. and the ability to burn LNG, because you and Ken always said, hey, long-term, LNG is exactly what we should be looking at. That's the plant you're building now. And
That's your number.
we've got the places, we got the pieces in place, but it's a rough ride.
It's a
You know,
timing thing.
and you know, just rough ride on the way to, you know, as
there's
those that have
your-
had babies say, you know, it's nice to have children, but boy, there's some difficulty in that 9 months to get that young child to come out, right? So,
And after the shower comes out.
So here's your, I mean, at 120, the 14 would be 11, you know, at $180 a barrel, the 19 cents or the 8
Versus 29 or
will be
34.
15.
Yeah.
So that's again, proof is in the pudding, and but again, right now we found a new power plant, we're dead in the water,
Right,
you know?
right.
And so
it's
that's happening, and so I'm sure with the, you know, again, as you can see, every month we'll provide an update, you start seeing it all come together, right?
and you know, this is going on globally. You've got power companies
We're not
trying to
the
make
only
the
one.
transition to cleaner fuels, to now nuclear's reemerging as an option. Every power company around the world is struggling with how do we reduce energy costs, particularly the LEAC part of it, whether it's oil or LNG or coal. Look how many communities are regretting shutting down their coal plants. Some are even saying, let's turn it back on.
The coal plants and the nuclear
Yeah,
plants were
yeah.
shut down for clean energy. So again, you know, I like to say that, you know, it's hurry up, we gotta go do this, and they all achieve getting more renewables, but at the end of the day, they forget the. And you know, I must say we're doing
We
it
have a
right.
plan. We're
We
following
have
a
a plan. Don't forget conventional energy. Get the most efficient one that will serve you as your lowest cost reserve. Instead of having energy storage which costs more as a reserve, you have a power plant with fuel that you can buy cheap and hold it as a reserve.
Yeah, and when renewables get cheaper,
Yep.
don't put gas in the generator, but you better have that generator because you're in an isolated grid.
And no more. So you know, we always keep track what's going on, and again, this is probably changed already by the time you turn on CNN or go to Bloomberg or whatever, right? So again, the demand is increasing, and so they were expecting some lower costs, right? But then OPEC now saying no, we're going to decrease the supply.
Even the president of the
The
United States cannot
the
control the
president
price.
now is releasing
He's gonna get blamed
strategic
for it,
plan
but
and
he
is
can't control it.
mad at Saudi Arabia and trying to figure out how, you know. But again, I look at this and then I leave it alone. But again,
We can only control what we can control. That's what we work on.
so that's all I have, Mr. Chair, in terms of the rate.
Anything
and,
else?
Just anecdotally.
Sure, go ahead.
I think
Commissioner
She's
Sanchez.
already aware of this. So I guess there's some confusion we're creating with our ratepayers on some of their current billing because I looked at the bills that were sent to me. I got a call from Patty Arroyo today, and she sent me a couple of bills. And when we get to the top line of the bill, when we get to arrears, it's not a negative, it's a positive 100. And even me, I was a little confused on how we're laying it out. But in fairness to Tracy and her team, I'd rather hear from you, or you're going to tackle it, or how?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Could have happened is so our process is every 8th of the month we load everybody's credit in their accounts.
Okay.
For example, if let's say the September bill already went out, right? And it just so happened that a customer, let's say, paid October 15th. On your September bill, let's say your regular bill is $400, so we'll deduct the $100 credit, so it'll show $300. But if the customer ends up paying, let's say, October 15th, which is after the October credit was already applied in everybody's account, it would then show your current balance, which would be a reduction of another $100. So that's going to show $200 then is your current bill. So basically what had happened is because of the timing of the payment, because it was paid after the following month's credit was applied, it's showing that the 2 months, for your current balance, is showing that you received the 2 months worth of credit.
I think what's confusing the customer, I'm looking at a bill,
Okay.
is the prior month was 360. They actually paid 360, even though it says amount paid was 100 less. But when the third box, it says at the top of the bill, it says arrears. Arrears usually means I'm negative.
Yeah.
It's got a positive 100. And then that's sort of throwing people off, because then another 2 boxes over, we take the 100 back like it's a credit. So, you guys have the tough job of implementing on the bill these changes, right? But we're getting, and it's unusual because we've been doing the rebate for 2, 3, 4 months now, right? But all of a sudden, just today, I'm getting these inquiries. Luckily, Patty said James is an angel, and we know the people responsible for it are 3 of them are in this room. But I think I said, please call customer service. I would just, I hear you, and I have a little background in accounting and math and all that, but I can appreciate that from a customer point of view, when arrears says, the word arrears usually means bad news, negative, something, right? But the 100 that we're giving out, if we're giving someone a credit of 100, putting it in arrears is a confusing place to put it, because you're not in arrear. We're trying to give you the $100. And are you getting more? Are you getting a lot of calls on something like this?
Yes, I have received a couple of calls as well. Yeah, I'm like myself, right? The bill was 502.55.
Okay. Because you had the credit.
Credit, so that's what it shows. I was in arrears 100, but then I was also credited 100, and then it kind of equals out, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been some confusion with other
I
customers.
think
as
part
well.
of that was the way to implement this thing and make it all happen in the time frame that we did. We'll take a look, and maybe do we have the phone number that our team can? Yeah.
Patty sent it to me, sent it to Tracy and James, and so maybe it's just something we do as an outreach, right? And unfortunately, as John pointed out, we've got only 1 more month of rebate, but there is 1 more month of rebate. So now let's make sure we explain, because for the first 3 months, no problem. But I don't know why, and I never noticed, was arrears was that when the box that says arrears, is that always where we stuck the 100 in the prior months? Because I'll go look at my old bills, but I never had any trouble following the old bill. When I got the phone calls and I saw this bill, I don't ever recall arrears having $100 in it. Usually the credit was applied in adjustments, like you do here. This says minus 100 is there. And when you laid out the bill, line item, the bill would always, at the bottom, say minus 100, here's what you pay. So I found all the billing up until this period easy to understand. I could follow it. But I guess for some reason, what changed?
Yeah,
If
Commissioner,
anything?
we'll work with finance to figure out how we can apply the credits and do everything without making it so confusing on the bill. And then I'll work with Joyce and James's team, see how we could give outreach, not just outreach, but maybe even on the bill itself.
Did
to
something
explain
change
it.
in the last month?
I think
I didn't notice it in the
it's a
first
lot
2
of the
months.
timing, like just what Maripaz said.
But the timing didn't change 2 months ago.
No, but we have certain dates that can, the milestones that can move. For instance, when the customer pays, the billing period is out at certain times. We still use cycles. And then, just as Maripaz had said, we apply the payments whole, so it's not based on necessarily cycles. And so there is a timing issue. And then the other wild card is when the customer actually pays. So we want to make sure that every single customer is made whole, and they are. We have to explain that better.
Okay.
So we'll check on it.
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's all you have? Anything else, commissioners? Mike, anything? No? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Thank
We're
you.
adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank you.
John. Thank you.
Yep.